Hi guys, so today we're going to be looking at creating this infinite scrolling effect which I come across on awards.com. It's this clapat.ro theme. So you'll see when we load, it's a really nice effect. It works really great on mobile devices as well. So you can see we have this kind of infinite scroll, and it will always reset. And yeah, it really struck me because it works great on mobile devices. But with my previous infinite scroll implementations, I've found it always quite difficult. So I tried to really see what was going on under the hood here. And here's my version. So I did manage to recreate this. Um, and yeah, you can see it also works great on mobile devices as well. So if I refresh this, you can see when we scroll, yeah, we get like a nice. There's no kind of jitter. It's really smooth and it works great on mobile devices. So yeah, this is how you kind of implement this infinite scroll effect to work great on all kind of touch screens and desktop as well. And we're also just going to be looking at creating this nice kind of parallax scroll effect as well. You can see the images. Some images transform a lot quicker than others. Okay, so it gives that nice parallax feel. And we're implementing this counter here, which is also has the infinite effect as well with the mixed blend mode effect. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, guys, and let's get going. Thanks. Okay guys, so to get started with this project, you can see I've got the usual kind of layout we go for. So we have in the root directory, I have an index.html file, and then we have two folders. One's JS for my JavaScript file. So we're going to create two files in here, one called app.js and one called images.js. And then we also have an assets folder in the root directory. This contains our CSS file, so our style.css, and then we also have an images folder which contains 8 just random images that I have got from unsplash.com. Okay, and I've used a naming convention here of 1, 2, 3, up to 8, just because we're going to be using JavaScript to apply these to our panels. But yeah, let's get moving on now. So let's go into our index.html file first and just get our boilerplate HTML code up and running. So we'll just do an Emmet exclamation mark. And then in the title, I'll just say infinite slider. And then I'm going to just come in above that and just do a link to our style.css. So we go ./assets and then that styles.css file, like so. And then in the body, I'm just going to do a script tag here with a source attribute, and we'll just point that towards our JavaScript file, our app.js file. Okay, that will be our main JavaScript file. And I'm also going to specify this as a type of module. Okay, and the reason we're doing that is because I want to import this images file into our app.js file. And the only way we can do that export import functionality is by adding this type of module. So it modularizes our JavaScript files, and then we can use different modules within our main app.js file. Okay, so let's come to the top of our body now. And the first thing I want to do here is we just want a main element. So we just say main. This will house all of our slider content. And then in here we'll have a div of a class of slider, like so. Okay. And then in the slider div, we'll have a div of a class of counter first. This will be our counter where our, when we scroll, the counter numbers will be animated. And then in this counter div, we'll have a separate div. And then here, we'll just have a h3 and it will have a forward slash in there. Now, coming out of this div, let's create another div, and this will contain our counter numbers. So we'll have a div here, and then this will contain an unordered list. And then here we can just say we want a list element, and here we'll give this a class of counter _li, like so. And then in here we'll have a h3, and then I'll just go for 0, 1. So we do we'll do 1 to 8, as we have 8 images in total, okay, that we're using for this slider project. So I'm just going to duplicate this down 7 more times, and then change these numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, and 8, like so. Okay, and then now, so if we come outside of our counter now, we can so we'll come out of this div here, so we'll come underneath our counter div, and then we'll just say we want a div of a class of slider _view port, like so. And then, so this is just going to basically contain all of our slider panels. Okay, so in here, we're also just going to have a div called with a class of crosshair. This will be the middle cross in our screen, like so, and this will contain 2 span elements. So I'll just copy this down. And then the next thing I want to do here, so we'll come outside of this crosshair div, stay within the slider viewport, and then we want to create our slides now. So I'm just going to say dot slide, and then in this slide we'll give it some attributes as well. So I'm just going to say some data attributes. So the first data attribute will be the transform attribute, and here I just want to give this first one a value of 0.9. I'm just going to give this another data attribute of data width. This is where we can specify the width of the images that our panels are going to contain. Here I just specify them all as 60% for now. And then we'll also just have another final data attribute with called data justify, like so. And then here I'm just going to say for the first slide we'll just say flex hyphen start. So basically these slides are all going to be using the display flex, and then what we can do is we can justify the content then to say either flex start, center, or flex end, and that will basically determine the position of the images that each slide contains. Okay, so let's just now let me just put an image in here for now. We'll put just like one of those images in our folder just so you can see how this will work. So say image, and we'll just say /assets, and I'll point it towards the first image in my images folder. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this down 7 more times as we have 8 images. Okay, and then we just need to change some of the data attributes here. So what I'm going to say is I'll give this, we'll say transform. We'll just do different transformations. So this transform basically determines the speed of the animation of our images, so it gives that kind of parallax effect of when we scroll, some images will come into the viewport quicker than others, some will be slower, and it just creates that nice parallax effect you see at the beginning of the tutorial. Okay, and then we do 0.8 for the fourth one, and then we can say, we'll go 0.1 for the fifth, and then we'll do a fast one here, so we can say, I don't know, 1.9. We can even go up to 2 point something if you want. That would be cause a really fast animation. And then here we just do that 0.9. And then let's just adjust these settings now. So basically we want to say for this one here, and we'll also we'll do center for every other item. So if I just I'll change all these ones to center, like so, and then here we'll have a flex end on the third one, flex start, and then flex end here. Okay, so we get that nice kind of wavy pattern. So flex start, center, flex end, center, flex start, center, flex end. So, okay, that's how we're going to be justifying each of our images within these different slides. And that's pretty much it. I think if we just, that's it for HTML. Yeah, so I'm just going to open this with Live Server in VS Code. Oh. Okay, so there's our images, that's looking good. Right, now, next thing I want to do is let's move to our CSS. Let's tidy this up a bit, okay? So if we come to our style.css, which is obviously in our assets folder, and the first thing I want to do is just reset all the default margins and padding. So we just say margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing of border box, like so. And that removes all the default margins and paddings. Next one to do is just remove the list, say list style of none. That will remove the bullet points from our list, our unordered list here. I've just noticed we've got 2 5s there, so let's just change that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like so. Okay, so list style of none, and we'll go for a font family. We'll just do sans serif for now, and I'm also just going to do a font weight as well. We'll say font weight 400 just to make the text a bit lighter. Okay, now that that's done, I'm just going to set my HTML body elements, and then we can say background color here. I'm just going to give it a white background for now, and then we can just say width of 100%, and a height of 100% to fill the viewport. Okay, and then come under here, I'll target my H3 elements, and I want to give these a font size, just say font size of 1.2 rem, like so. Okay, now let's target our main element next. So remember that's the thing, well, the main element, it contains all of the page content, and we just want to position this fixed. Okay, so don't want any scroll down the page to occur. We just want it fixed to the viewport. So to do that, we'll just say position fixed, and then we can next say top 0, left 0, width 100%, and I'm going to give this a height of we'll say height 100 SVH. So this means small viewport heights. And the reason we're using this SVH is because on mobile devices, you can sometimes get that smaller viewport when the address bar's enlarged. So that's why we're using. So it always kind of scale relative to the smallest viewport height, and that makes it work better on mobile devices. Next thing we can do is just say display flex, because we want to center our content, and then I'm just going to say align items to the center, like so. Okay, so that's now centered our content, and we can just say, yeah, that's good enough for now. I'll just give it another background color. We'll just say white as well. So background color of white. Okay, so next we want to come down to our slider. So if we do a slider here, and we're going to position this relative. Okay, and make sure that's lowercase. Position relative, and then here we'll just give it a width of 100%, and we'll give it a height of 80%. So to fill up 80% of the screen vertically. So now if I do a border, 1 pixel solid red, you can see, yeah, there's our top, and as the image is in the way, let's just remove the images for now. I'll just do image display none. You can see, yeah, it takes up 80% of the viewport there, like so, that slider. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it for our slider. Next, what I want to do is just target the slider viewport. So I'll just say slider _ viewport here, and we can just say position. We want to center this viewport. It's got to be to the center of the actual slider, so the center of the page. Okay, so here we'll say position absolute, we'll say left at 50%, and then we'll say transform, and we'll say translate X to -50%, and I also just want to give this a height of 100% as well. Okay, so I just say height here 100%, and let's just give this a border of 2 pixels solid blue, just so we can see what we're working with. Okay, and then we need to give this a width as well. So I'm going to give this a width of, we'll say 60%. We'll do 60 viewport widths just so it's relative to the screen. And then I also just need to say top of 0. And that will center our viewport there. So this is where this is going to contain all of our slide elements. Let's just make sure actually that I did put them in the viewport. Yeah, so the slides are within this viewport div. Okay, now I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I just want to give this a background of white as well, because we're going to be using this kind of mixed blend mode, and this only works if we have a background color applied to our viewport. Okay, so now let's target the crosshair. So we can just say dot crosshair like so. And again, we're going to position this absolute, and I'm just going to say top 50%, left 50%, and we'll do a transform. We'll translate, and we'll say -50%, -50% to center that div. And then if we do a width of, we'll say 30 pixels, and a height of 30 pixels, make it nice and square. And then we'll just give it a border of 1 pixel solid green, so we can see what we're working with, and there's our crosshair there. Okay, and then what we want to do here is I just want to give this a z-index of 10 as well, so it's in front of all of our image elements or our slides. And then I also just want to say display flex, and we'll just say justify content center, and align items center like so, and then we'll just say a mix blend mode of difference. You can see that it's actually gone purple now, even though we've got a green border. That's because that difference effect is taking place. Now, next thing we need to do is just target our span elements within the crosshair. So we'll just say dot crosshair, and we can say span like so, and we'll say position. I want to make these absolute, and then we'll just say width of 100%, height of, we'll give it 2 pixels, and we'll give these a background color of white. So say FFFFF, 6 Fs, and you can see it's actually appearing black because we have this mixed blend mode difference on, and this means it will kind of, well, it will change color with the background. So when we have the images flying past, it will just kind of blend in with the images. Okay, and then I think that's pretty much it, and we just want to say transform origin center as well, because we're going to be rotating these to make a nice cross pattern. I'm just going to remove that border as well, we don't need that anymore. Okay, and then if we come under here, I'm just going to take this crosshair span, and then we can target the nth child, so the first child, we put 1 in there, and we can just say transform, and we'll just say rotate, we can say 45 deg for degrees. You can see we've got a nice rotation occur now, and we'll do the same thing for the second child, so the second span element, just change that to 2, and then put a minus, and then we have that nice cross. Cool, that's looking good. Now, next one I want to do is we want to move this counter. Okay, we want to move it over to the right hand side. So let's do that now. We'll do a dot counter like so. We can say position absolute, and then we can just say, I'll do a display flex here as well, because we need to use flexbox to align the 2 divs within our counter. Here we had 2 divs in this counter, I believe. So yeah, counter, and you can see here we have these 2 separate divs. So we're displaying these with flex so that they appear next to each other. So let's do that now. Counter, display flex. And you can see you've got the / next to the 1 now. So that's working. And then what we can say here is right. And I'll just say 1 rem. And that should bring our counter over to the right hand side of the viewport. And then next I want to say top. We'll say 50%, bring it 50% down. And then we also need to translate on the y-axis. So we'll say transform, translate y, minus 50%. Okay, and now that's gone nice and centered. And then the next thing I want to do here is just say overflow hidden, like so. And then we'll also just say z-index of 10 again, just so it appears in front of all the images. And then I also just want to say a mixed blend mode of difference as well. Okay. Now, the next one I want to do here is we'll just say, and what I want to do, let's just make the colour all white here. And now you can see that because we have the mixed blend mode of difference applied. Okay, and now the next one I want to do here is if we just target our counter divs next, we can say dot counter div. And I want to give these a width of 25 pixels and also a height of 25 pixels. Like so, and now you can see, yeah, that's appeared. If we take this overflow hidden off, you can see we get that overflow appear now. But if we just give these a border, 1 pixel solid black, or white rather, because we have mixed blend mode difference applied, you can see we have that applied now, and there's the overflow hidden. So I'll leave that off for now. We'll adjust this later, but I just want you to see how this effect works. Okay, and then what I want to do here, so underneath this, we can just say under counter div, I'll target my counter li, and here we'll just say position, and I want to make these absolute actually. Okay, it's because we're going to be adjusting the position of these with JavaScript. We'll give these a height of 25 pix to fill the parent div, and then I'll also just say display flex. And we shall justify the content as well to center. Justify content, center. Okay, so that's it. And then let's move to our slide elements now. So if we come to, we can say dot slide. And here we can just say position, absolute. and then we give these a width of 100% and a height of 100% to fill this center viewport. And then we can just say display flex, and then we'll also just say justify content, because we want to center our images within each of our slides on the x-axis, so we want them around the middle of the slide, so we're just doing justify content center here. And then we'll just say will change transform, because we're going to be animating these with JavaScript using the transform functionality. So if I just do a border 1 pixel, or we do a 2 pixel solid red. Okay, so don't appear to be seeing our slides, so let's just see why that is. Okay, let's make the let's make this. Oh, that's why. Okay. Okay, so yeah, you can see our slides are all applied there, like so. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do here is if we let me just. I want to put these images in an image. Well, I'll put this first image in an image container. So we just say dot image container, like so, an image container div, and then I can just put this one in here. Okay, and then I'm actually just going to remove all these other images. I just want to show you how this will look for just one of the slides. Okay, so if we just remove all the other images within our slides for now, because we're going to be adding these with JavaScript as we progress. And delete this one. Okay, and then now what I want to do here is I just want to take out this image display none, like so. Okay, so now what we can do is if we come under here, I'm just going to now target our data attributes. Okay, so we can do that with square brackets, and I'm just going to say data and then justify, and then that's ones that where the justify is equal to we'll do quotes here, flex start, like so. And then we want to say justify, well, align items, flex start, like so. And then want to do that, so you remember we have this data attribute, this data justify here, so that's what we're doing here. We're just targeting where the data justify is equal to flex start. Okay, so now we need to do it for the other ones as well, so the center and the flex end. So I'll just copy this down, we'll say center here, and we'll say align item center, and finally flex end. Just target that as well, and we can just say end here. Okay, so now that that's done, we're nearly there, guys. So we can just say dot image dot underscore container, like so, and then we can just say position relative, and then we can say aspect ratio, and we'll say here 16/9 to get a nice aspect ratio for our images, and then we can just say will change transform, because we're going to be animating these with JavaScript, the images as well. And then next thing, we can just target the images, which we already have done, and we can just say here position absolute, and then I will say top 0, left 0, give these a width of 100% and a height of 100%. And then what I want to say here is object fit, and we can just say cover, like so. Okay, and then let me just see why we can't see that first one now. Okay, so yeah, we have the flex start applied, display flex, and justify content center. Okay, let's have a look at our image container again. Yeah, let's give this a width. Sorry, we'll just say give it a width of 60%. And you can see there's our image applied. Now, if I was to change the HTML attribute here to, we'll just say center, for example, you can see that goes to the center, and you can see it blends in with our crosshair. And then if we also use flex end, it will go to the end of the slide. So that's what we're doing there. So I'll just change it back to flex start. And there you go. Okay, so that's it for our CSS. Now, what I want to do, we can just remove this border now. And then, yeah, I'll remove all these other borders as well because they look pretty ugly. So let's just do that. And then, yeah, this one here. Okay, so let's move to our JavaScript now. So I'm actually just going to delete this image because I want to apply these all with JavaScript. Okay, so we'll do that. So I'll comment that out actually, just in case we need to reference going forward. Okay, so next thing I want to do here is I want to actually come to my images.js file. Okay, so we come to our images.js. Now what we're going to do in here is we're going to create first a class. Okay, so this will be, we'll use the class keyword here, and we're going to create an image container class, which is going to be all of the different image containers with the respective images that we're going to apply to each of the slides. Okay, so this takes in a constructor, and it's going to take in an image source, like so. So that will be the kind of location of the image, as well as the parent element, which will reference the slide parent. Okay, let's just say parent L here, and then we can just say this dot image source equals image source, like so. And then we can also just say this dot parent L equals parent L. And then we can say, so we just want to create some additional variables here. So we'll start off with an initial translate X position. We'll say this dot translate X equals, we'll start off at 0 for all of our images. And then we also want to specify a viewport. So we can say this dot viewport equals, and we can just say documents dot query selector. And then we just want to target this viewport, which is in the center of our slider. Okay, so double underscore viewport, like so. And then next we want to do here is we just want to say this dot translate num, and that's going to equal this dot parent element, and then we want to get the data set from the parent element, and then we want to take the transform parameter. Okay, and you remember, so what this does, this accesses the data attributes of our parent elements, the slide in this case, and it will take the transform number, which you can see here for the first slide, for example. We have this data attribute, we have this transform variable, and it's taking this number here. Now, what you'll notice is this is actually a string, so we do need to convert that to an integer or a number in JavaScript, so we can just say plus here, and that will convert it into a number, the string into a number. So we're getting that translate num there. And then that's it. Now we just need to create some methods in this class. So the first one will be append image. Okay. And then what we want to say here is we want to create a new a new element instance for this image container class. We'll say this dot L equals document dot create element. So we're going to create a new div element. So we'll say create element div, like so. And then we can say this dot L dot class list dot add. We want to add that image container class, which we specified in our style.css file. Okay, and then what we want to do now is we can just say this, this dot image. So we can just say this dot image equals document dot create element, and we want to this time create an image element. So img. And then we can just say here, we want to set the source of the image now, and we're going to pass that in the constructor. So we can just say this dot image dot source, so src equals this dot image source, like so. And then we can just say this dot l dot append child. So we want to append the image to our parent element, so we can just say this dot image. And then finally, we just want to append the actual element to our parent element. So we can just say this dot parent element dot append child, and then we can append this dot L, like so, for the main image container div. Okay, so that's it for the append image function method. Now we're going to create another one called set dimensions. And this is just going to be used just to understand how many pixels it is to the center of the screen, so we can, apply the relevant transformations. And so, when the slide or the parent element is at the center of the screen, then the actual image container will be in the dead center of the screen as well. So to do that, we just need to say this dot center ref, so center reference, and that's just going to equal window dot inner width divided by 2. So window dot inner width, that gets the amount of pixels there are on the screen horizontally, and then we're just dividing that by 2 to get to the center of the screen. Okay, and that's got to be a dot. Now what we need to do here is also just say add event listeners. So we say add another method called add event listeners, like so, and here we can just say window dot add event listener, and we want to listen out for a resize event, because then we're going to need to recalculate the dimensions. Okay, so we can just say here this dot set dimensions, like so. So whenever we resize our event, whenever we resize our window, this center ref will always be reset to the amount of pixels it is to the center of the screen. Okay, and then so what we can do now is need to call these in our constructor. So I'm just going to say this dot append image, call the function, this dot set dimensions, and then this dot add event listeners. Okay, so now next thing I want to do here is we're just actually going to create an animate function as well. So here we can just say animate, and here what we're going to say is, first we want to do is we want to destructure the left and the width properties from the parent element. Okay, so we can just say equals this dot parent element dot get bounding client rect. So what this function does, it gets like the left position and the width of the respective parent slide elements, okay, for each of our image containers. And then also we just need to say this dot parent center, that's going to equal left plus, and we want to do some brackets here, width divided by 2. Okay, and the reason we want to work this out is because we want to compare the parent center, so where it currently is in the where the user scrolled. We want to compare that with this center ref. So for example, when the parent is dead center, then we want to subtract the center reference from the parent center. So if the parent is center, that will be 0, and that means we'll have a 0 transformation applied to our image, so the image will be dead center where it's supposed to initially be. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. That's why we're calculating the parent center, so we can compare it with the actual center ref of the viewport. Okay, and then what I can say here now is just say this dot L dot style dot transform, and here we can just say equals, in backticks I'll say translate, and here we're just going to, as I said before, take this dot center ref, and then we're going to take minus this dot parent center. Okay, and then what we can do outside of this is I'm just going to say, well, I'll put this in brackets or parentheses, this initial subtraction, and then we can times this by minus this dot translate num, and then just add pix for pixels outside of that. Okay, so remember we give these transform nums here, and this will basically just emphasize the effect or the transformation that it will times it by that transformation number to make it stronger or not as strong, basically. So that's what we're doing there. Okay, now what I want to do now, that's it for our image container class. I just want to now just create an images array. So I'm just going to say images equals, and here we're just going to create an array of all of our images, or the location of our images. I'm just going to say /, and we're referencing it from our index.html file. So we want to go to assets. So we'll say assets here, /images /1.avif. Okay, and now I'm going to copy this down. So we say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm just going to change these to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I need to add commas after these as well. And we need one more because we have 8 images. Okay, so I'm just going to put 8 there as well. And then what we also need to do, I just want to duplicate these 8 because we're going to basically be duplicating these images to get the infinite slider effect. Okay, so I'm just going to copy these and paste them down again. So we have them repeating. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's why I've used this kind of naming convention here. It just makes it easier. Okay, but just make sure you've got wherever your images, whatever they're called, make sure you're using those names and extensions in this array here. Okay, that's it for our images.js file. All we need to do now is just export our image container class and our images array. So let's do that. We can just say export image container and images, and that's done. Okay, so now we can move on to our app.js file. So let's go to app.js file now. Now the first thing we need to do here is just obviously import that image container class and also the images array from that images.js file. Okay, now underneath this, let's just do our slider selectors first. I'm just going to say const slider. That's going to equal document.querySelector.slider, like so. And then underneath this, we're going to say let slides equal, and I'm going to do an array with a spread operator here, and then we can do a document.querySelector all, and I want to just select all dot slide elements. Okay, so I just console.log slides. If we come to our console here, see we get each of our slide divs applied there like so. Okay, and yeah, so the reason I'm just doing that spread operator here is initially if you just do a document.querySelector all, you get a node list back. But if you do it this way, you do a spread operator in array, you get the actual array or the HTML elements in an array, so you can actually iterate through them and apply transformations. That's why I'm doing that. Okay, and then I also just want to create as well. We'll just say let slides array equal, and we can just say I want to do a spread operator here. I'm just going to spread out that initial slides array that we created. Now the reason we're doing this is because we're going to create duplicates of each of these slides, and then we're going to push them further onto this new slides array, so we can also apply the animations to the clone elements as well, so the duplicate clone elements. Okay, and the reason we have to have these duplicates is, as I said before, it gives you that infinite scroll effect. So let's do the same thing for the counters next. Also, what I want to do is just say let slide width. That's going to equal slides. We'll take the first slide, and we can just say here slide 0 dot get bounding client rect, and then we just want to take the width attribute, and that will get the width of each of our slides in pixels. Okay, we're only getting the first one because they're all the same size. Now let's just target our counters next, counter selectors, and then here we can just say const counters equals, same technique as above. I'm just going to use a spread operator in an array, and we can just say .querySelector all dot counter, like so. Actually, we ought to say .counter li underscore li, as we gave all of our counters this class here, this counter li class. Okay, so coming back up here, next one to do is just say, again, we'll just say let counters array equal, and we'll just spread out that initial counters array that we created, and that doesn't want to be a capital. Okay, so now that that's done, next I want to do is just specify a transform variable. So let transform, this will track how much we've basically scrolled for our slider. And then I also now just want to add an event listener to our window. So say window.add event listener, want to listen up for a resize event, and here I just want to reset our slide width. So I can just say here slide width. Yeah, because obviously, if we resize, as we're using a kind of 60% for our slide, if I just scroll down here, where's our slide on here? Yeah, we are using, the viewport rather, sorry. Where's the viewport? Yeah, we're using a 60 viewport widths here. Okay, so obviously if we resize our window, that will change, the amount of pixels will change. So we need to just, on the resize event, we just need to reset that slide width variable to the current width in pixels. Okay, now what I want to do now is just create some clone functions or a clone function. So I'll just say clone function, and here we'll call it function clone elements. Okay, because we want to clone each of our slides as well as our list items here. Okay, so what I want to do here is this is going to take in an array of elements and an array that we push to. So I'm just going to say, maybe we can just say, bear with me a second. We'll just give it an array to push to. So I'll just say push array. Okay, and then what I want to do here is I want to loop through each of our elements. So we can just say for let I equal 0, whilst I is less than elements dot length. We'll just say I++. And then in here, I want to first create a clone. So I'm just going to say let's clone equal, and we'll just say elements I dot clone node. Okay, and then we want to add true in here to copy all of the data attributes over as well. And then I want to add a class list to this clone. So we can say clone.classList dot add. I'm going to add just a clone class just so you can see this in the console. And then we'll just say elements so next thing we want to do here is just say elements I dot parent element dot append child. I want to append that clone, and then then we can just say array dot push, or the push array dot push clone. Okay, you'll see how this works in a minute, guys. It might be a bit confusing at the moment. And then we just want to create a function under here called position. We just want to position the elements as well. So we can say function position elements. Okay, and then this takes in again elements array as well as a position as well. So say position here, and then here I'll do a for each function this time. Actually, I can just say elements dot for each. And then for each, so we want to pass in the element itself as well as the index, like so. And then that will do a callback function. And then here we can just say first we want to do is work out the percent for each of our elements. Okay, so I'll just say let's percent equal. And here what we're going to do, we do some parentheses, we're going to take the index that we're iterating through, and then we're going to subtract, and we're going to take the elements array. Okay, so we just say, the elements array dot length, and we're just going to divide that by 2, and then we're going to come out here and just times this by 100. Okay, and then what we can do now is just say element dot style, and then we're just going to access the position here. So we're just passing that position, which we take in for this with this second argument here. So this will either be top or left. Okay, and then we're just going to say equals, and then we're going to do backticks, and we're going to just pass in that percent in a template literal percent, like so. Okay, so now that that's done, what we can do now is we can just say so we can now just come in here and we can just say let's first clone our slide panels. Okay, so clone and position our slides like so. Okay, so let's just use this function. So I'm just going to say clone elements, and then we want to take in our slides array. And remember, we have a push array, which we created up here, which is going to be this subsequent slides array. Okay, so we can push that in. And then let me actually come back here, and in the slide, on the slide, I'm just going to say, where's that slide? Okay, and then once that's done, so now that we've we have our slide placed, next thing I want to do is just say, so we've cloned our elements. So if I come to the terminal actually, you can see we have our initial 8 slides here, and then we also have these clones. You can see we got the class of clones that's been applied now. Now we just need to position all of our slides. So to do that, we can just say position elements, and we want to take in the elements. So I'm just going to pass in the slides array, so the new array of all the clones added, and then I'm just going to set the position. So this will be, we're going to position these on the left. So this means basically, so what we're doing here, you can see now they're all gone next to each other, okay? And what we're doing, so first things first, in the clone elements, we're looping through each of our slides array, okay? So the initial 8 element array, we're looping through all those, and we're creating a clone for each one. We're then adding the clone class, and then we're basically getting the parent element, which is basically the slider parent. So you'll see, yeah, we have our slide here, and that will be the slider viewport basically, which is the parent element. And then what we're doing with that is we're just saying we want to append the clone to the viewport, the slider viewport, and then we're pushing that clone to the slides array, okay, which we've put in here as our push array, okay. And then we're positioning the elements after that, so we're basically just looping through each of the slides array, which includes the clone elements, and then we're working out the index based on the index of the element in the array. So we're saying let the percent equals the index. We're taking away the elements.length, so this will be 16 divided by 2, so that'll be 8 times 100, okay. And then we, so for example, yeah, this will be like, the first one will be minus 800%. So if we come here, you can see we should have the position now. You can see, so this first one's left 100%, left 200%, yeah, 400%, 500%, 600%. So that we just basically position them along the slider, okay, and it should go up to 800% or 700% rather. Okay, and then, so that's pretty much it. Now we just need to do the same thing for our counters. So we can do that now. We'll say clone elements, and I'll take in the counters here, and then we'll take in the counters array, like so, and then we just want to position them. So we can just say position elements, we'll pass in the counters array, like so, and then here we want to say top, because we want the vertical fashion, and now you can see they're aligned vertically. If we did left, you'd see they go next to each other like that. We don't want that. We want them to be top. Okay, so that's working. And now what I want to do next is we want to just add some images. So let's do that now. Add and position images. And here I'm just going to say let image containers. Okay, and this is going to equal an empty array. And then what I want to do is I want to do a for loop here. Whilst I is equal 0, I is equal 0 whilst I is less than the slides array, which contains the clones dot length I plus plus. And then what I want to do here is I'm just going to say let image container equal new image container. Okay, and then we're going to pass in the images I. Okay, so we're going to take in, we're basically just we're taking that images array, we're taking that image, the index from that array, and then so we're passing that in as the image source, and then for the parent element we can just say slides array I, as that just represents each of the parents. Okay, and now you can see that our images are applied. And then what I want to do now is just push this, so we can say image containers dot push image container, like so, because we want to animate these images. Okay, and then so now what I want to do is for desktop, I just want to say slider dot add event listener, and we want to listen out for a wheel event. Okay, and then for this, what I want to say here is transform minus equals e dot delta y. So if I console.log transform, you should see in the terminal, when I scroll now, you get the amount we've scrolled. So basically, yeah, we're basically adjusting this transform variable we created up here, which tracks the amount we've scrolled. Okay, so we're just subtracting the wheel delta y, or just the amount we've scrolled in, onto that transform, and then we can just log in that to the terminal. So I'm scrolling up now, I can see it's getting larger. Scrolling down, the value gets smaller into the negatives. Okay, so that's what we want for desktop. Now what we need to do is let's just create an animate function. So I'm just going to say here function animate, and then what we want to say here is if, because basically to get this infinite scroll effect, we need to reset the transform value when we get to a certain point. Okay, so I'm just going to say here in the animate function, if transform is greater, and we're going to take the slide width, okay, and then we're going to times this by slides array dot length, and then we're just going to divide that by 4. Okay, so if it's greater than that, then we just want to say transform equals, we want to reset it, so we're just going to say minus slides width, slide width times, and we do another set of parentheses here, and we do slides array dot length divided by 4. Okay, and then we need to do it opposite directions. What this is basically saying is if our transform is greater than, so we're taking the slide width, which is the width of our slide in pixels, and we're basically just timesing that by the slides array, which will be about 16, because we cloned the original 8 elements, so it'll be 16 divided by 4, which is 4. Okay, so we're taking the slides width divided by 4, then we want to set it to minus 4. Okay, so minus the equivalent minus 4. Okay, and then we need to do the opposite way around as well. So this time we need to say if it's less than, and then we need to, so we say minus slides array dot length minus 4, then we want to say transform equals, and then we can just say here the positive, transform equals slides array, slides width, and that should be times there. I don't know why I've got 2 sets of parentheses there. Okay, and that should have a times. Okay, and then what we need to say now underneath this is do a for loop here. I say for let I equal 0, and whilst I is less than slides array dot length, so we're basically just going through all of our slides for each animation. We're going to use an animation frame here, and we're just going to say I++, and here we're just going to say slides array I, and then we can just say dot style dot transform equals, and we're going to translate on the x-axis, and here we just want to say we want to work out the percentage here, so I'm just going to say transform, and we need to divide this by the window dot inner width times 0.6, and then we just want to times this by 100 to get the percent, and then we just want to say percent here, like so. Okay, and then we also just need to do the same thing for our counters array, so I'm just going to copy this down. We'll say counters array, And then we also just need to go through each of our image containers. So we can say image containers I.animate, like so. Okay, so now if we just come out of this for loop, we'll do a request.animation frame animate, and we need to also call this animate function outside. And now you can see when we scroll, we get that nice, and that should be translate Y for the counters array. So you can see now we're getting that nice infinite scroll effect. Okay, and you can see how the duplicate functionality works, because when we get to a scroll point, it just resets. And you can see we get a nice parallax effect as well, because we're running this animate function here on each of our image containers, which applies the transform data attribute. So what we're doing here is we're just basically working out the percentage as well. So we're taking the transform, and then we're just dividing it by the window dot inner, and that should be actually inner width, I believe. Yeah, sorry, inner width, not inner height, because we're on the x-axis. Inner width. Okay. Yeah, and there you go. Now let's just take out, we've got a console log in there, we don't want that anymore. And I just want to remove the border here as well. And yeah, it looks like a really nice parallax effect, and we just need to apply that overflow hidden as well to our counter. And we need to take off the borders as well. Let's take off the border. So for our counter div, where's our counter on here? Counter div, take off this border. And there you go, we get that nice, cool, infinite scrolling effect. Okay, now what we need to do as well is we just need to adjust this for mobile devices as well. We haven't considered mobile devices here, as we're only using the wheel event. So let's just do that quickly. So I'm just going to say here, well, it's for touch devices. And here I'm just going to say, first we need to apply some starting variables. Okay, so I'm just going to say let start x equal 0. We'll say let speed x equal 0. And then we'll say let is touching equal false. And then we'll also just say let start time equal 0. And then let elapsed time equals 0. Okay, so we need these variables to kind of work out, to animate our slide movements when we use touch devices. We don't have access to like a delta Y variable for touchscreen, so we need to use these kind of time-ins to apply some deceleration animation to our touchscreen device scroll. Okay, so the first thing we want to do for touchscreen devices, so we just say slider dot add event listener. Add event listener, and we listen up for a touch start event. Okay, and then we're taking the event value here, and then here what we want to do is just say start x, and that's going to equal e dot touches. Okay, so we have a touches array on this, and so if I just, for example, console.log start x, if I just set this to a mobile device like so, refresh, you can see we get this touch event here, and then in this touches we get a client x here, which is the amount of pixels where the user's touched. So we're just going to take that one, so we'll say dot client x like so. Now you can see we get the pixels where we touch on the screen on the x-axis. Okay, and then what we need to do now is just say speed x equals 0, and then we'll also just say is touching, because the user's touched the screen, we'll set that to true. Okay, and then next thing we want to do is just say start time equals performance dot now, and this will get like I think this gets like the current sort of milliseconds we are you know, so it will say here, if you say console.log performance now, oh, sorry, start time rather. Yeah, so it, you know, so it takes the milliseconds from when you touch. So if I refresh this, you know, and then what we can do actually is if I just we'll do another event listener here. I'll say touch end, and then if we set, for example, elapsed time equals performance dot now minus start time. So this will give you the amount of seconds or milliseconds that I've touched down. So if I just console.log, we'll say elapsed time. If I hold this down for around 2 seconds, 1, 2, 2. Right, let's get rid of this. Okay, yeah, it gives you the amount of milliseconds, how long you hold down the touch for. That's what that's doing, okay? So now, next thing I want to do here is, we've got this now, so let's just do a slider. Slider.add event listener. I want to listen out for a touch move event. And again, this will take in the E. And then we can just say, what I want to do here is I just want to do an e.prevent default to prevent any kind of, you know, normal scroll behavior. And then what we need to work out here, we need to work out delta x. So we say delta x, that's going to equal e.touches 0.client x, and then we need to subtract the start x time. Okay, so we say start x, and then we just need to say transform plus equals delta x. Okay, and then what we need to do is we need to reset the start x time. So to do that, we just say start x equals e.touches 0.client x. So now if I console.log transform here, you should see that we get this applied. Okay, so now we can scroll with our mouse down. Okay, but you'll notice it does finish very abruptly, which is not what we want. Okay, so we want to have like a deceleration effect. Okay, so to do that, what we're going to say here is in our touch move, we're going to say elapsed time equals performance.now minus the start time. This is what we're going to use to apply like a deceleration effect. Okay, and then what we can do is take that speed x, and then we're just going to say minus equals, and we're going to take in the delta x, which is a distance, divided by elapsed time times 0.1. And then we're just going to times this by -1 as well. Okay, so yeah, basically it's speed equals the distance, which is delta x over the time. And I'm just doing a 0.1 here just to make it less aggressive. Okay, so that's the kind of equation to work out the deceleration speed. Okay, and then what I'm going to do on the touch end, we don't want this elapsed time anymore, and we just want to say start x equals 0 and is touching equals false. So when we take our hand off the touchscreen device, we're setting that is touching to be false. And now what we can do is in our animate function, we can say if not is touching, and once taking the math abs function here, and we're going to take in that speed x, so we're taking a speed value here, if it's greater than 0.1, then what we want to do is apply this deceleration effect. So I'm just going to say speed x, and we're just going to gradually make it smaller and smaller for this deceleration. So we're going to times it by 0.95. Okay, adjust this to taste, you'll see shortly. And what I can do here is just say transform plus equals speed x. So now you can see we get that nice deceleration applied. But I think, to be honest, it might need to let's just try 0.9. Oh, it should be times equals, sorry, times equals 0.95. Let's try 0.95. Okay, that's better. Yeah, now you can see we get that slight deceleration effect. And times equals 0.95. Okay, it seems to be stopping rather abruptly, so let's just see what's going on there. E.print default. Let me just console.log speedx. I'm just trying to work out because it seems to be stopping rather abruptly here, but not when we scroll this way. It seems to be working fine. Let me just console.log speedx here. So it works that way. So if not is touching, it's because of this speed x is greater than 0.1. Okay, that's better. Sorry, yeah, it's because my I had the greater than 0.1 in this maths.av value. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, you can see now we get a nice deceleration effect applied, and obviously if you change, well, you can change, you know, if you did, I think this is too much, it scrolls, yeah, it takes too long to, yeah, I think, you know, 0.95 is a sweet spot here. Again, clear the console logs just to make sure for performance reasons. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's how you kind of implement this really nice. It works really good on mobile devices. This is the issue I was having before with infinite scrolling. I was using the scroll bar and it was kind of jittery, so I think this is really smooth on mobile devices. And yeah, it just looks great on desktop as well. So you can see, yeah, we get this nice effect, nice parallax. And yeah, there you go, nice infinite scrolling effect. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.